Hi guys, my name is Olivia and welcome back to my YouTube channel. I'm so glad that you're here. So this word is something that God has been speaking to me personally over the last 6 months. He's really emphasized this passage, but I honestly feel like it's for way more people than just me. And actually I've heard it repeated through many other people on YouTube and other places where they're sharing encouraging words from God. And so I really do feel like this is a word that's for a broader audience than just me. So I wanted to get on here and just encourage you guys because I feel like there's some things God is speaking to my heart through these scriptures, and I feel like they're going to also minister to you too. So there's been a theme of God bringing his people into the wilderness, and I know a lot of the times when people hear the word wilderness, they think of pain, they think of hardship, they think of sorrow, they think of seasons where there's almost like a brass ceiling over them and they can't get through it, and it's typically described as a difficult season where you can't hear God or see God. But I want to encourage you with these passages that talk about God leading people into the wilderness and what I feel like he's showing me personally and what I feel like may also be for you. So in Hosea chapter 2, this is what God is saying when he's talking to the Israelites, actually. So it says, the Lord's mercy on Israel. And in verse 14 of Hosea chapter 2, it says, therefore, behold, I will allure her and bring her into the wilderness and speak tenderly to her. There I will give her her vineyards and make the valley of Achor a door of hope. And so God started speaking to me about this like around 6 months ago, maybe even before that, personally showing me how he was bringing me into a wilderness season. And I was entering a season where it got harder to hear God, harder to recognize his voice, I guess. And part of it was just because I was dealing with a lot of lies internally. And so at the time I was dealing with all these lies was also the time that God was bringing me into this wilderness season. And at first it's really easy to see that as a negative thing, as the wilderness being a really hard place and a negative thing. But that's why I'm getting on here to share this, because I honestly feel like there's another perspective with this, and it doesn't have to be this terribly hard place for you, but it can be different, and you can get a different perspective on the wilderness season. And so in Song of Solomon, it also talks about this. It talks about the wilderness, and this is really cool, and this is what God was highlighting to me today and even yesterday for the wilderness season and what it can result in and what the purpose of it is. So when you go to Song of Solomon chapter 8 and you go to verse 5, it says, who is that coming up from the wilderness leaning on her beloved? And in Song of Solomon, it's all about the bride and the bridegroom together, and it's all about their relationship. That's what it's embodying, is God as the bridegroom and us as his bride, his body of believers as the bride. And so the wilderness, this is what I've been experiencing over the past few days. The wilderness is meant to strip you of idols. It's meant to strip you of things that you are relying on instead of God, even yourself, even your own sense of control, your own sense of understanding. It's meant to strip you of the relationships that are replacing God, the people who you're leaning on instead of him, the things you're relying on instead of him, and even yourself, how you may be relying on yourself instead of him, or your own understanding or knowledge of whatever. And so the wilderness is a place where God allures you away. It's a beautiful thing. He allures you away like a lover. He allures you away because he wants you to lean on him alone. And this is really the focus of this word, that if you feel like you're in a wilderness place, and just know that it's not to punish you. It's not to make you feel like God is far away. It's not to distance you from God. But it's actually the complete opposite. It is actually to bring you closer into him, to come out leaning on your beloved. In this hard place that you find yourself right now, whatever you've leaned on your whole life, whether it's people or yourself or whatever it is, maybe it's even baggage, maybe it's even mindsets that you've leaned on, and you've been crying crying out for freedom, you've been crying out for breakthrough. Maybe the wilderness is a place where God is drawing you into himself to actually break the things that have been keeping you bound for so long. So I want to encourage you that if right now you are finding yourself in a wilderness, that maybe it's not so bad after all. Maybe you are also going to be coming out leaning on your beloved, which is God. And ultimately, if you've been crying out for God to rescue you, if you've been crying out for God's intervention, and yet you feel like you're in a dry place, a desert, a wilderness, then just know that something more, something better is taking place than the rescue you may be envisioning in your mind. But maybe the wilderness is God's way of rescuing you, and you will come out also leaning upon your beloved. So ask yourself today what you've been leaning upon, and what this is really doing in the end to make you come out leaning upon him, just like it says in Song of Solomon. So I love you guys. Comment below how I can be praying for you, and I'm so glad that you are here listening to this video, because I know that even that is God saying that he's with you and that he is rescuing you, even if it looks like going through a wilderness. And if you remember, the Israelites, they were also brought into a wilderness before going to their promised land. There was a shorter path to take, but God instead led them through the wilderness. So just like that, God may be leading you through the wilderness, but the outcome is so that you're leaning on him.